Have you ever really stopped to think about your thoughts? I mean, not just the fleeting ones, but the deep down patterns.
The ones that really shape who you are.
Exactly. And, how they connect to what actually happens in your life. It sounds a bit out there maybe, but have you ever really thought about that link between your inner world and your outer reality?
It's a huge question, and actually it's one that texts like Thought and Character as a Man Thinketh tackle head on.
Right.
It suggests there's this almost strict cause and effect thing going on between thought, character, and, yeah, even destiny.
Okay, so that's exactly what we're getting into today, a deep dive into this idea, how our thoughts, build our character and map out our lives. It's all based on that principle. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Right. We're using that text as our guide, really, to unpack how it all works, how the inside shapes the outside.
And the hope is that, by listening, you'll get a clearer picture of the power you actually hold, your own thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Moving from maybe unconscious habits to being more deliberate, more conscious about shaping your inner world.
Which then shapes your outer world.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's start with the foundation. The text says, pretty bluntly, a man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. That's quite a statement.
It really is. It's comprehensive. And the analogy they use is, well, it's quite simple but effective. Think of a seed.
Okay.
You plant a seed, you don't see the potential inside, right? But eventually a plant grows.
The outcome.
Yeah. The text suggests our actions, even the ones that seem totally spontaneous, are like that plant. They're the blossom, it says, of these hidden seeds of thought.
Huh. So everything starts with a thought, even if we don't realize it.
That's the idea. And it's not just actions, it goes deeper. It says joy and suffering are its fruits.
So our feelings, too, our well-being is tied directly back to thought.
Precisely. It's all connected. There's that quote, "Thought in the mind hath made us. What we are, by thought we wrought and built."
We build ourselves with thought.
Kind of, yeah. It suggests it's an active process. And importantly, it's presented not just as a nice idea, but as a fundamental law.
A law. Like physics.
Well, as absolute in the mental realm as physical laws are in the material world. That's the claim. This law of mental cause and effect.
So good thoughts lead to good character, bad thoughts to bad. Is it that simple?
It frames it that way. It talks about a noble and godlike character, which maybe today we'd say means virtuous, right? Wise, compassionate.
Sure, yeah.
That doesn't just happen by chance. It's the natural result, the text says, of continued effort in right thinking, consistently focusing on elevated thoughts.
And the flip side?
The flip side, what it calls an ignoble and bestial character, comes from continually harboring groveling thoughts. So yeah, the pattern of your thinking really adds up over time.
Wow. Okay, so that leads to this really powerful idea then. Man is made or unmade by himself.
Right. Puts the power and the responsibility squarely on us.
It uses that metaphor, the armory of thought. I like that.
Yeah, it's vivid, isn't it? We're forging weapons that hurt us or tools to build something amazing, like heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace.
It's all happening in the mind first.
And that connects to our agency, our power to choose.
The text is really bold here. Man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny.
Master molder, maker, shaper. That's a lot of control.
It suggests we have this inherent potential. As beings of power, intelligence, and love, and the lord of his own thoughts, we hold the key to every situation.
We hold the key because we control the thoughts that create the situation, or at least our experience of it.
That seems to be the core idea. But, and this is crucial, it doesn't mean we always use that power wisely.
Oh, okay, that catch.
Well, yeah, it points out that even when things are going badly, man is always the master, but maybe a foolish master who misgoverns his household.
Misgoverns their own mind.
Exactly, that inner world. I think, many people can probably relate to feeling like their thoughts are just running wild sometimes. Oh, absolutely. Like you're not driving the bus. So how do we switch? How do we go from being that foolish master to the wise master it describes?
The turning point comes, according to this text, when we stop just reacting and start to reflect upon his condition.
Pay attention.
Yes, and actively search diligently for the law upon which his being is established. Basically, try to understand how this thought-character-destiny link works for you personally.
Okay, so it's about becoming conscious of the process.
And then acting on that consciousness. The wise master is someone who's directing his energies with intelligence,
Right.
right? And deliberately fashioning his thoughts to fruitful issues.
Being intentional with your thinking.
You got it. And the goal is discovering within yourself these laws of thought. It's an internal discovery process.
It's not something you just read in a book and automatically know.
Right. It takes work. The text lays out the path: application, self-analysis, and experience.
Application, self-analysis, experience.
Okay. It's active. You have to apply the ideas, look closely at yourself, and learn from what happens. There's this great metaphor about mining the soul.
Mining the soul.
Yeah, like digging for treasure, finding every truth connected with his being takes the same kind of effort as digging for gold and diamonds. It's valuable, but you have to put in the work.
So it's about deep self-reflection, really looking at yourself honestly.
And connecting the dots. It stresses watching your thoughts, controlling them, altering them, and then carefully tracing their effects upon himself, upon others, and upon his life and circumstances.
Cause and effect. Seeing it play out.
Linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation, you become like a scientist of your own mind.
I like that. A scientist of the mind. And no experience is wasted.
Apparently not. Use every experience, even to the most trivial, everyday occurrence, as data, as a way to gain that self-knowledge, which it calls understanding, wisdom, power.
So pay attention to the small stuff too. It all matters.
That's the implication. And it finishes that section with a really strong statement. He that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened.
Sounds almost like a promise. If you look, you'll find. If you knock, the door will open.
But it requires persistence, right? Getting through that door of the temple of knowledge takes patience, practice, and ceaseless importunity. You have to keep at it.
Okay, so wrapping this up then. The big takeaway seems crystal clear. Your thoughts. They're incredibly powerful.
Hugely powerful, not just random noise in your head.
No, they're the actual builders of your character, the architects of your destiny.
Yeah.
And it works through this reliable law of cause and effect.
And the really hopeful part is that you can become the conscious director of this process. The wise master potential is there.
Right. So for you listening, especially if you're drawn to this kind of self-exploration and growth, this gives you a real framework, doesn't it?
Definitely. Maybe take a moment after this, reflect on your own dominant thought patterns. What's the usual weather like in your mind? What beliefs are running the show?
Yeah, that's a really practical thing to consider. Which leads us to a final thought for you to chew on. If your thoughts really are the seeds that grow into the garden of your life, well, what kind of garden are you tending right now? And maybe more importantly, what seeds are you going to choose to plant deliberately, starting today, to cultivate the kind of life, the kind of harvest you truly want?